Travel is broadly accepted to open the mind and is generally a positive experience for the traveler. But there are some countries which are a little more conservative than others, and some things you definitely should not do in these countries. Even in more liberal countries, it's a good idea to check the local customs before you leave. Today, we're discussing things you should never do in certain countries around the world. Stay tuned. First of all, we're heading to Korea. Koreans are welcoming people in general, but there are a couple of things you should and shouldn't do in the home of a Korean. The first thing is to make sure to take off your shoes. Back in the day, Koreans slept on the floor of their homes, so they became accustomed to taking their shoes off when entering each other's houses to keep the floor clean, a custom which continues to this day. Some Koreans will even take it further by having the whole floor replaced if someone enters their home with shoes on. So make sure to always remove your shoes when entering the home of a Korean. Another thing you should never do in Korea, and China for that matter, is to whistle after dark. The locals believe that whistling at night will summon ghosts and other spirits, which will follow you home. So if you don't want to have a spooky encounter, remember this one. We're off to South America next. Come with us. South America is a vast continent encompassing multiple countries, but they all share one pet peeve. When visiting any country in South America, never, whatever you do, refer to the United States as America. Why? Well, South Americans see the name as sacred, and when foreigners use the name to talk about the USA, natives see this as an insult, as you have supposedly implied that only citizens of the US are worthy enough to be called American, when technically everyone on both continents, North and South, are Americans. The more you know, right? Give us a custom from your part of the world that foreigners need to know. Next up, we're heading back east to Japan. Hard work, respect, and taking pride in one's work are all things that are deeply rooted in Japanese customs. As a result of this, good service is something which the Japanese just expect as a given, as part of the job, if you will. Taking this into account, tipping is not necessary in Japan. To tip is generally considered not necessary. Some more traditional Japanese citizens might even consider it to be rude, as they believe that good service comes as part of the overall cost of whatever it is you are purchasing. They value dignity more than tipping, which is a breath of fresh air from the United States point of view, which demands tipping for mediocre work bizarrely. What is your stance on tipping? Let us know below. We're looking at why you should not smile in Russia now. Stay with us. Russians have a reputation throughout the world as being cold people, and not just for the temperature of the motherland. If you've ever met a Russian person, you will notice a distinct lack of a smile, but this often does not mean the person is sad or even unfriendly. It comes from a deep-rooted idea that only servants smile politely. To smile at a stranger can be viewed as insincere or even as secretiveness, so this is why they refrain from doing it altogether. Many Russians view it as unacceptable to smile at strangers, which is why if you enter a store in Russia, the salesperson can appear cold, as they will only usually smile at people they know. A custom shared by Norway and the UK now. Stay tuned. Norway and the UK have a close recent history over the past couple of thousand years, with the Vikings having invaded the most influential island in the world on more than one occasion. So a lot of the customs have become interwoven over the years. But this custom is more of a recent one, when in these countries, you should never honk your car horn, as it is seen as extremely rude. This is in stark contrast to somewhere like Peru, where they honk even if there is no other traffic on the road. In the UK and Norway, honking is reserved for the emergency services only, or in the extreme event of an imminent accident. To use your horn in any other situation diminishes its importance and can even anger people, so don't do it if there's not a serious danger. What is your country's use of the horn like? Next up, avoid using your left hand in India. In India and a few other Asian countries, but mainly India, your right hand is used to do things like eat or shake hands. If you offer your left hand to someone to greet them, it is considered extremely rude. This is because cleaning your backside is still done with hands, specifically your left hand, all across the country. So to offer it to someone or to eat with it is seen as one of the most disgusting things you can ever do. However, it is okay to put on and take off your shoes with your left hand because these are also considered dirty too. So let's go for it. We're heading off to Singapore now. Come with. The powers that be are strict on rules in Singapore, which is one of the reasons why the locals are so proud to live there. Whilst here, you should never spit, drop chewing gum on the floor, or drop trash, as not only will these practices attract the disapproving looks of the locals, but you can also be fined for doing any of these things, so don't. The UAE is up next. The UAE and other nearby countries in the Middle East are known for their oil wealth, but they're also known for something which might be considered a little archaic. Whilst in the UAE and some other countries, particularly Saudi Arabia, you should never ever indulge in public displays of affection. Not only this, but same-sex couples should also not bring attention to their relationships, as it can land you in serious trouble and even jail. You will also attract the attention of the locals if you even hug or hold hands with a partner in the UAE. You should also not cohabitate with someone of the opposite sex who is not your significant other whilst in the country too, as this can also land you in hot water with the authorities. We're heading down under now, mate. If you ever have the privilege of visiting the home of Mordor, New Zealand, there is one mistake you definitely should not make. Kiwis, as they are affectionately known by pretty much everyone on the planet, hate being confused with their nearby neighbors, Australia, more than anything. If you are unfortunate enough to make the mistake of calling someone from New Zealand an Aussie, you will most certainly be corrected, sometimes angrily. Don't make this mistake. Over to Turkey now. What are you waiting for? Lots of cultures around the world use hand gestures, and in a lot of places, these are perfectly acceptable. In Western countries, the OK sign, where a person will touch their thumb and index finger tips whilst holding the other three fingers straight up, is almost universally accepted. But in Turkey, it is a different story. The country is seen as the link between Eastern and Western cultures. But if you are to flash the OK hand gesture here, you will definitely attract some less than savory glances, or even end up with an angry Turk telling you off. This is because the gesture is seen as obscene, akin to the middle finger gesture in the West. Good to know, right? Have you been to Turkey? Let us know what you thought of the country below. An obvious one now. We're off to Germany. Germans have an obvious hatred of the Nazi salute. The population, as well as surrounding countries and races, were tormented by the Nazis for over a decade, and using the Nazi salute in Germany nowadays can see you end up in jail. If you were stupid enough to use the gesture in Germany and the police were not around, you will almost certainly be told in no uncertain terms to stop using it straight away, maybe even aggressively so. Do not do it. We're heading back to the UK and Ireland now. Come on. There is nothing that the Brits and Irish love more than a good night out, which is all well and good. And one common aspect of going out with friends is going in a round, which minimizes your time standing at the bar waiting for each drink. The British and Irish will welcomely include you in their round, but don't dare not offer to get a round back, as you won't be invited out drinking again. It is considered extremely rude to not at least offer. If you are a friend of a friend or just visiting, generally people won't mind buying you a drink as a welcome, but you should always at least offer to get one back. As always, thanks for tuning in today, guys. And remember to stop by next time for some more fun and games. Also, why not share our video with anyone you know who might appreciate it? Sharing videos is considered friendly in our culture. Bye, guys!